Guy Miner's been rocking the Barnes 130 TTSX in his 30-06. Pretty crazy results. We're going to talk about that in this video. Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. I'm back with Guy Miner. Thank you so much for putting this story together, Guy.
You're welcome. This is
really, really good stuff.
Good. I'm glad you like it. I had fun.
Yes. Solid copper is a thing, right? Some people are going to use solid copper for hunting by mandate. Other folks are going to use it because it brings a different dynamic to the hunting lethal ballistics.
Yes. These bullets behave differently in game than a conventional cup and core type bullet.
Mm-hmm. So in this video, we've got an action-packed agenda. We're going to talk about the bullet. We're going to give you kind of all of the key metrics and all of the details. Then we're going to talk about what would you want to shoot this in? What cartridge? What rifle? What application? What are you going to hunt with it, right? Guy put together some hand loads on the Mech Marksman. It's one of Guy's favorites. He's been using it quite a bit for hunting ammo.
Yes.
Yeah, you've seen it in quite a few stories. We've got this awesome Springfield rifle here, performance results, some group data, some chronograph data, gel block test. This was a good one this time. This is some pretty extreme performance, right? A bit of lab data, and then we're going to wrap it all up with our closing thoughts. So let's get into it. Tell us about this bullet.
This bullet is an evolutionary product from Barnes. They have been making the all copper bullets for some time now, and I remember shooting the X bullets and then the TSX bullets, and then I think they hit a home run, whatever it was, 10 years ago, I'm not sure, when the TTSX came out. All of a sudden you had more consistent expansion and you had really, really good results. A lot of people are very happy with hunting with these bullets, and that would, I like them.
So the TSX is a bullet, and the TTSX adds the tip. Is that correct?
Right. They opened up the hollow point a little bit that's underneath the tip, capped it, because you go opening up those hollow points too much, you'd completely destroy your BC.
Right.
So this keeps it streamlined in the front. And yeah, you've got a bullet that flies well, accurate. It's the grooves in the side allow the copper to flow as it's going through the barrel and on the rifling. Got rid of the pressure problems that some of the old all copper bullets had because they had no relief groove.
They don't conform to the rifling nearly as easily as a cup and core bullet, right? Because that lead in the core, you could just squish it down, and the copper jacket forms nicely to the lands and grooves. Good to go, right?
Yeah.
Copper requires those extra design details, and the alloy is critical, and when you put it all together, you can get some really great performance because they're lighter, right? So lighter bullets for the same cartridge are going to go a little bit faster, and they happen to need a little bit more velocity as well to expand. So those dynamics all come together in a different way and good for different things.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to go ahead and try this very light for caliber bullet. 130 grain 30 caliber is a light little stubby bullet. But we booted it out pretty fast out of the old 30-06, and it performed well for us today. We'll tell you more about that.
Yeah. So it's got a G1 BC, a .350. It's got the tip. So this is kind of an optimized copper bullet. Obviously, it's a 30 cal, so it's a 308. You're going to find TTSX in a variety of calibers for just about anything that you'd want to hunt with. So let's talk about, for this 130 TTSX 30 cal bullet, what kind of cartridges is this going to work with?
I think it fits a wide range of them, from your 300 Savage, which is just a little less powerful than a 308, very similar though, 308 Winchester, the 30-06, which everybody should know by now is my favorite, and then up into the 300 Magnums.
Right.
And I have not tried this bullet from the 300 Magnum. That, who knows, maybe that's too much of a good thing. Maybe that's too much velocity.
I wonder what burn rate you're going to want for that. Because if you go with that normal Retumbo burn rate that you'd have like with a 225 and a 300 PRC, is it going to be too slow?
Maybe.
Might require some experimentations.
Right.
Yeah. And so we were talking about 308 or 30-06 for the testing for this video, and I thought, hey, it's a copper bullet. It wants to go fast. It wants to expand at those higher velocities. Let's go the extra mile, the stretch limo version of the 308. Let's
stretch limo.
Let's go up to the 30-06, right?
Yeah.
Because they're similar. more
are.
capacity in the 30-06. It takes you from a short action up to a long action. You could develop a load for the 308 that pushes the performance, envelope a little bit, and maybe get close to this as well.
Barnes offers this bullet in a factory 308 load.
Okay.
And seems to me it was around 3,100 feet per second and change.
Wow.
Just looking it up. I have never fired it, but
that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, the 300 PRC would be kind of the one that I would want to look at in the 300 Magnums, because believe it or not, I don't have a 300 Win Mag. I know, I just went straight to the 300 PRC.
Good for you.
Well, I kind of feel like I need one, because I know you all shoot 300 Win Mag quite a bit, and it maybe would be a great comparison as well. So
I think so. It's a great cartridge. Yeah.
Yep. So if you want that comparison, if you really care about 300 Win Mag on Ultimate Reloader, please drop a comment and we will put that in our suggestion box. Okay, let's talk about the equipment and load.
Sure. Like you mentioned earlier, I really do like that Mech Marksman press. The longer I've had it, the less likely it is to migrate back up here to Ultimate Reloader. It's just real nice. It's easy to work with. I love the open front end on that thing.
Yes.
And that you put those little LED lights up underneath there to light up the workspace is fantastic. I like the floating where the cartridge case goes in.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of float to that.
Shell holder float. Yep.
And yeah, the shell holder float. Thank you. And that has led to some very accurate ammo getting built on this press. And I just used good old RCBS dies on it that I've had for years.
Nice.
Nothing special in the way of dies, which we got some pretty special results.
Definitely. Yeah. So CCI 200 large rifle primers. That's right. This is not a Magnum, right?
No, it's not.
So we just need regular large rifle primers. And Varget, tell me about that choice.
Yeah, I switched to Varget for this for a couple of reasons. And one, I took a look at the Barnes reloading manual, and they had Varget listed as one of their powders. And I said, well, we've got some of that. And I've used Varget a lot in the 308 mostly, but also in a few other cartridges. I thought, we're stepping down to a lighter bullet weight. I think a little faster burning powder than my usual H40 350 or H40 831, things like that. A little faster burning powder would probably help with this light bullet.
Yeah.
And so we pushed it up to the max.
Nice.
Why not?
Average velocity of 3,273 feet per second. That is really good.
From this 80-year-old rifle.
Yeah. That is awesome.
That was fun to test it.
Yeah. 1903 is it? Springfield?
It's an 03 Springfield.
Model?
This is called the 03A3 because it was made for World War II by Remington.
Nice. I still am dreaming of that World War II bolt-action rifle shoot-off.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've got my 1941 built Mosin Nagant, and I'd like to get an Arasaka as well, and an 8mm Mauser. Anyone? Those are getting expensive now. I just noticed. Yeah. So that's another story. If you think that's really, really cool, drop a comment and we'll maybe up the priority of that, because I think I'd like to see us in like vintage garb, to be honest, out there in the hills.
Half of what I own is vintage garb.
No, I mean
oh, you mean older than that?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be a lot of fun.
That's blistering velocity out of
this
thing. Yeah.
3,200 feet per second. That's going to definitely get the job done. So how long have you had the rifle?
Well, it's been in the family quite a while. Not forever and ever. Maybe Dad probably got it about 20 years ago, I'm guessing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and see, he was World War II Navy veteran, and he always liked the World War II vintage rifles. And so, by golly, when he got a chance to snap up an 03A3, he did. And it's in great shape. I love shooting it. Pretty accurate, very reliable. Yeah. It's a good gun. It's got that 24-inch 1-to-10 twist barrel.
Yep.
Has the A3 version was streamlined a little bit for production, differing it from the old original Springfield that were actually in production before World War I.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, the 03, which and the 30-03 turned into the 30-06. Been a whole history on that. And they put a peep sight here on the back, which I like a lot better, an aperture sight, rather than the sights on the earlier Springfields, which I didn't like as much.
Was this then jointly developed with the 30-06 cartridge?
About the same time, because with actually the 30-03, because what they were doing was replacing the 30-40 Krag. which was a much weaker action that had just a single locking lug, and the 30-40 Krag fired a 220 grain bullet at pretty poor velocity. I think I don't remember, but low 2000s.
Yeah.
And then the 30-03 didn't really improve on those ballistics, but the potential was there.
Gotcha. And
eventually they woke up and said, hey, why don't we put a Spitzer bullet in here, a 150 grain Spitzer, and shove it at about 2,700 feet per second. And that was the standard for these for decades.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good stuff. Yeah. 30-06 has quite a legacy. Okay, so let's talk about your performance results. We already talked about our velocity, which is 3,273 feet per second, which is blistering and is, I think, appropriate for a copper bullet for hunting. I think this is really great.
I think you want that velocity up a bit. In fact, that's one of the things that Barnes has talked about is if you usually hunt with a 180 grain cup and core, drop it down to a 165 or maybe even a 150 if you go to the all copper TTSX. You get better expansion, nice flat trajectory, all that good stuff. And then, no, we did not shoot that tight a group with this.
So this is a funny story. I said, well, if we're going to shoot some groups, I know they only had a few cartridges loaded. You had 6 loaded at the time. I grabbed this rifle, which you have seen recently here on the channel. This is our Savage 116 all-weather. We've got the Boyd's Heritage stock. This is a killer rifle. But there was a big but here. I said, this would be a little bit more accurate than the 1903. Why don't you take it up to 100 yards and shoot it? And I didn't remember that I didn't completely sight this in. I sighted it in for like 50 yards shooting steel for the video. We had to wrap it up quickly, and it wasn't even on the paper at 100. So that precious few cartridges that you had.
but you know what? It worked out, Gavin, because I got to come down here and use your Area 419 big, beautiful press.
Yep.
And and reload a bunch of 30-06 this afternoon. So that worked.
Yep. Yeah. And check this out. For 3 shots going into sub half MOA, in fact, sub 0.4, shooting in the 3s MOA, 0.397 MOA, 0.416, 3 shots at 100 yards. That's an awesome hunting rifle result. Awesome.
That's the best group I've ever shot with a 30-06.
And I think this is probably the best group that we've shot here at Ultimate Reloader with solid copper projectiles, with solid copper hunting projectiles, right? Because they're usually not as tight as our cup and core.
Yeah, bullets. But this one is.
Yeah, and it's about finding the right combo. And obviously this is definitely that, right?
Yeah, max load of Varget, according to Barnes.
Yep.
And so you get the velocity and you get that accuracy and a bullet that will perform. It's very hard to break one of these up. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
On game, they tend to stick together, expand well, and penetrate well. So.
Yep. And if you take that performance out at distance, this has got a great trajectory, right? You're talking at 600 yards, you're only down 68.2 inches or 10 MOA, right? That's an easy dial up. If you're shooting a game at 600, you're going to be lasering it, I hope, right? And dialing, and then maybe holding for wind or something like that.
And I think we're probably out there at 600. Probably the velocity has dropped off so much that I'm not sure that I would trust this bullet to open up reliably out there.
It looks like 500 would be a better bet at 1900 feet per second.
And most hunting isn't done at 600-700 yards. No. Most hunting is done at 100, 200, 300 yards. Yep. And we're an open country. We're used to that. And some of the guys back east are going, or that live in the thick areas, maybe out on the Olympic Peninsula or something. They say, what do you mean 300 yards is normal? They're taking their elk at 40 yards year after year. So.
Yeah, some people hunt deer with a shotgun, right?
Yes,
with
very successfully.
Buckshot.
That's why they named it that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So, different mentality around here. I personally prefer the wide open country and hunting that way because it's a more interesting game, and I like the idea of the challenge, of at least some range, right? At least hold on here, right?
There you go. Yep. I like that.
Okay, so the last part of the performance was the ballistics gel test. Now tell us briefly, what did you guys do for the setup on this one?
We put 4 blocks out this time, just in case. In case this thing turned into a super penetrator. I sat down at 10 yards from it, got all those blocks all lined up, and let it rip, and then all our jaws dropped as that first block decided to take a little tumble through the air and crash to the earth.
Yeah.
It didn't penetrate super far. It penetrated good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it really had a very big effect on that first block.
Oh,
I remember
man.
watching the high-speed footage, and it's just sitting there literally writhing through the air, just all over the place.
Temporary wound cavity, I think, was around 10 inches.
That's really good.
That was impressive. And what you see is how broad that wound cavity is there at the first part going into that first block. And then if you take a look at the spent bullet that measures, what, 0.8 inches diameter, its widest point.
And 99% weight retention? Seriously? That's probably the tip blowing off, right?
Probably.
Yeah. The final weight was 129.165. That is really impressive.
That's pretty good out of 130.
Yeah. Yeah, that is amazing.
I think that's why a lot of guys like the Barnes bullets, is because they don't just shrapnel inside the animal. They don't spread a bunch of little lead particles inside the animal that you're probably going to eat on your table.
Yeah, if you eating Grandpa's deer meat and you get something in your mouth, it's going to be one big chunk, right?
It means they didn't find the bullet
it's
until
going to be this guy. Oh,
until
Grandpa,
dinner
look,
time.
I found it, right? Yeah.
Oh, give me that.
Yeah. No, really good stuff. And, these tests take a while to set up and to perform, but they yield such great insights into the hunting performance, really,
Right.
the lethal ballistics.
And we've had suggestions come in. Well, put some deer hide in front of it, throw some bones in it, and that kind of thing. We could do that. What I like about this is that it's the same stuff every time.
Yep.
So we can compare different bullets, different cartridges, what their effect is, without having the randomness of, gee, we got bigger bones in this one than we did in the last one.
Yeah.
This is just nice and consistent.
Yeah, no, this is really good results, and the more that we do these tests, the more data we have to compare, which is great. Speaking of data, Kyle on our team sat in front of the precision scale and with our Meditoyo precision measurement equipment and put this lab data together. So weight consistency, the average was 130.263, a very, very good number there. That is an accurate result. Accurate means close to the desired value, right? Then we get into the precision. So the SD and the ES are related to the consistency. So 0.139 grains standard deviation. That's really great on a 130 grain projectile, and an extreme spread of 0.455 grains. Diameter consistency, 0.3078, so 2/10,000ths of an inch away from 308 as an average. And some of that might be intentional. With a copper projectile, diameter is critical, and that's a tuning parameter for the bullet maker. So SD of 1/10,000th of an inch, extreme spread at 1/10,000th of an inch. That is some really, really good consistency.
That probably helps explain that tight group.
Yeah, I'm thinking so, definitely.
Yeah, a serious hunting bullet that groups like that.
Yep. And then on the length data, which is less critical, we have an average length of 1.1697 inches, standard deviation of 2.1 thousandths of an inch on that length data, and an extreme spread of 7 thousandths of an inch. So we haven't done a whole lot of testing like this on copper projectiles, on solid copper projectiles. I'm calling it solid copper, even though there's a plastic tip there.
Right.
The primary portion of the bullet is solid copper. So it'll be interesting as we get more data in to look back on this data and to compare, how these bullets compare to other Barnes bullets and other bullets in general. Okay, so wrapping it all up, what are you thinking on this?
I'm thinking this is, it deserves its good reputation it's earned as a hunting bullet. Absolutely. Good penetration, great expansion.
Yeah.
Which really impressed me too, because I do like a bullet, especially for a deer bullet, I like them to expand fast and do some massive damage in that chest cavity to drop your deer in place. Boom.
So I'm going to ask you the E question. What about stepping up to elk? And Barnes has multiple 30 caliber options, obviously.
I'm sure you could take elk with this.
Yeah.
Absolutely certain you could. I think on elk, which can be very big, very tenacious of life, and a mature bull elk has some of the densest bone you're going to find in any kind of herbivore.
Yeah.
They're just amazing. Big muscles, 700-800 pound bull elk, big muscles, thick, dense bones, thick hide. I think I want at least a 168, maybe a 180 grain bullet.
Yeah. And that would be a good candidate for the 300 PRC. I'm thinking with solid copper.
Yeah.
You know, get some astronomical velocities. Maybe it might not be necessary. You know, the 30-06 with a heavier projectile might be a good pairing, and maybe that depends on what you have, right?
Me? I'm liking my 30-06.
Of course, I know that to be true. Yeah, really great performance results. The versatility of different twist rates.
Yes,
and
this
barrel lengths.
didn't require any special twist rates. It's a stubby little short bullet, which explains the fairly low BC of .350.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's a stubby little short bullet, but my goodness, it performs.
Yeah,
and I'd take that.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the group that you got with it and that kind of thing. Okay, so what we want to know is, what do you think of the 130 TTSX and 30 cal? Are you using it? What are you using it to hunt, and what are you shooting it out of? What is your load? Drop a comment and we'll start a discussion. Thanks again, Guy. This was a really great story, and I would have no hesitation to use that Savage and this exact load on deer. I'd be super happy with that.
Deer, black bear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, black bear. That would be great for that.
I think so.
Okay. Well, that concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel, or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.